Hey, it's Miss Lauren, the OT. I also wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about occupational therapy in general and pediatric occupational therapy. A lot of people have not heard of occupational therapy before. I know I found out about it much later in life, before I had already gone to college and studied something else and was working in a school, actually, is where I first heard about occupational therapy. And so what occupational therapy in general is working with people to help them to do the things that they need to do and they want to do in life. That could be anything from activities of daily living, which include dressing, bathing, toileting, sleeping. There are instrumental activities of daily living, which is kind of the more complex things in life, which include like meal prep, cooking, cleaning, maintaining a household, caregiving, all those kinds of things. And then also play, leisure, and any other social skills and all of that. Pretty much anything in life that you want to do or need to do is something that occupational therapy can look at and work on. And we work with a variety of people across the lifespan from birth to death, really, any age and a lot of different settings. So whenever something happens in life, it can be either injury, sickness, illness, a condition that somebody's born with. It can be just a developmental delay, anything that happens that keeps somebody from doing what they need to do or want to do. Occupational therapists can work on that with them, and we can either establish and create skills, establish, restore. We can help adapt, so like making splints or adapting different things in the environment, coming up with different tools to use. We can do that. We can work on maintaining function and really anything, which is kind of nice because there's a lot of variety depending on who you want to work with, what setting you want to work in, how you want to work with people. And it really, again, depends on who we're working with, which kind of approach we take. So that is a very general explanation of what occupational therapists do. And then for kids in particular, one of their main occupations in life is play. And that's where they develop a lot of skills for life in general. So, I've heard if a kid just plays and does tons of stuff with their hands and, incorporates fine motor skills into play and they've never picked up a pencil, if they pick one up at 7 years old, they'll have a perfect grasp. I don't know if that's ever been done in practice, so I couldn't tell you that. But that's why a lot of what we do with kids in particular looks like we're just playing. But what we do in occupational therapy, what we're trained to do is activity analysis. So that breaks down any activity that we're observing. We look at the muscles used, the different neurological functions involved, really any skill or context, the environment that it's in, anything that goes into that activity we look at, and we can kind of break down and work on those skills individually or in the exact same context of that activity. So a lot of the times we'll kind of change play activities to incorporate specific skills that we're working on. And a lot of the times in pediatrics, we work on handwriting because that tends to be something that comes up a lot in the school system. And usually if kids have trouble writing, or if a parent or a teacher notices that their grasp is a little bit underdeveloped, they might be referred for occupational therapy. And so that's why handwriting in general is kind of a big thing that tends to be a goal for pediatric patients, at least in the school system. And there's a ton of stuff that goes into handwriting, which my current student now, some of you have met her, Miss Joanna, she is going to be working on an in-depth activity analysis for handwriting, which I'll be able to share with some of you when she's finished with that. But it takes into account everything from sensory processing, so the way that our brains take in information, sort it, and give an output to what we're experiencing. So kids that have a lot of trouble sitting still might have something with sensory going on. So in order to be able to write, you have to, in school at least, you have to sit at a desk. You have to be able to attend for a certain length of time. You have to be able to have enough core strength to keep your body sitting upright for that amount of time. And you have to have the shoulder stability to be able to hold a pencil. Fine motor skills develop proximally, so from the inside outward. So if a child has difficulty with fine motor skills, there's a chance that they might need to work on some core strengthening and stability before they can develop those fine motor skills. So we do a lot of gross motor work as well in OT treatment, like animal walks, wheelbarrow walks, anything also that involves weight bearing on palms. And you want to try to keep them flat too. So like the wheelbarrow walking is great for that. Crawling, there's a lot of different skills that develop because of crawling. So if a child does have difficulty crawling when they're a baby, or if they skip crawling, there's a potential for delayed skills that go towards handwriting. So that's why in evaluations, we'll ask about crawling sometimes, or we'll ask a bunch of different questions about developmental milestones and all that kind of thing, because a lot of those, our brain, they happen for a reason, because they are developing certain skills that will ultimately in life get us to doing more complex skills like handwriting. Let's see. So, yep. So we work on core, shoulder stability. And again, it kind of depends on the child that we're working with, what is going into their, or what skills they're lacking or having difficulty with or need to develop a little bit more to help them with handwriting. So we've got fine motor skills that go into handwriting, and then there's also visual perception. So to be able to write, you need to have visual acuity, which usually the typical, I forget if it's optometrist or ophthalmologist, one of them only checks visual acuity. And so that's like the 20/20 vision, the big chart with the E and all that, some shapes, I think, too, for kids if they can't read yet. But they check that. But then there's also developmental ophthalmologists that will check ocular motor skills. And that's how the eyes work together. So some kids will have a lazy eye, or, you know, some kind of visual difficulty with tracking. So that's when your eyes work together to follow something when it's moving. And then there's also going from one point to another that's involved in reading. And you need to be able to see and perceive in order to be able to process it and output it with your hand and write it. So there's a lot that goes into handwriting, and what we do during evaluation is kind of break it down and see what skills the child might be having more difficulty with, and which aspects might be going towards difficulty with handwriting. And we target those in treatment. And we try to provide activities for home that will help with the development of those skills. And again, a lot of them are play-based, because that's what kids do. That's how they learn. And also, something about neurology is that okay, so I'm sure most people have heard of the fight or flight mode. And when a child is more stressed, or there can be other reasons why a child might be in the fight or flight mode, but a lot of times kids who have difficulty will go into that mode when they're put, there's demands placed on them. So things like writing, if they know it's difficult and you're having them write, they might automatically kind of shut down and go into that fight or flight mode. So we try to keep it kind of light and playful and fun, so that they're having fun and they're not kind of getting into that mode, because when you're not in that mode and you're kind of in a good, happy place, that's when your brain is best able to make the connections it needs to make to have things kind of stick. So that's why we play a lot. Anyhow, that is a general description of OT and pediatrics in particular regarding handwriting. Feel free to ask me any questions or anything, or if there's anything else you would like explained a little bit, I can make another video. But yeah, that's it. See you guys later.